Hey everybody, John from Old Running Farm here. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to be doing a late July garden tour, and it is super hot out, so we're going to make it quick. So we're starting out back here by our bee yard. All our hives are doing really well. We added a third box on top of our two strong hives. And I think we're going to end up combining our two little hives because we found yesterday that the queen from our second swarm that we caught has flown the coop, so we'll work on that later. So now we're over here by our raspberry patch. Our Anna raspberries, which are these yellow berries in this row, have been doing really well. They've grown strong. Everything else is looking okay. Our blackberries, which are over by the far side of our property, are getting a little eaten. Something is eating the leaves off the top, and we're also getting something digging underground, some kind of mole or vole, whatever that is. Just something going underground and disturbing the roots. So we've actually replaced a couple plants that didn't make it, but overall everything's looking really good. We've had a couple berries from here, and a couple of them have been good. Some of them may not have been quite ripe yet, but you know, maybe next year. So now we're over here in our market garden, and you can see we have these two beautiful tomato trellises that we made. Catherine and I actually had a competition to see who could build the better tomato trellis, and we had you guys vote in the comments to see who won, and I am like just soaring ahead of Catherine, so that's great. No, I'm just kidding. She is kicking my butt. So I think she won. Hers is this one. Nice and strong and sturdy. Mine's a little less sturdy, but I think it's actually doing a pretty good job of keeping these tomatoes in line, so there's that. But anyway, so the tomatoes in this row are pretty much the only things that are really kicking it. Everything else is not doing so well, so I think we said in the last video we may prune the tree that we have over here. Better let in some sunlight, because that does a pretty good number on the amount of sun that this patch gets. And now you can see the wild pepper plant that we grew right here. I'm sure it's not something good. So now we're in our orchard with our orchard rows with our tomatoes and snapdragons. Fruit is scarce on our fruit trees. We do have a couple pears and we have a couple apples, but you know, maybe we just didn't prune them or keep them healthy enough. They're not producing very much fruit. There was also a really late cold snap that killed a lot of flowers in early April, late March, I think it was, right when they were starting to open up. But all our tomatoes are looking pretty good. Getting lots of fruit on them. The Betalux, we actually have a ripe tomato, or a ripening tomato inside, so that's exciting. I don't know that we're going to do these orchard rows again next year because it was a pain in the neck to keep the grass down in between, and it just takes up a lot more space and harder to maintain. But we got something exciting we're going to show you in a little bit that will replace this.
Stay tuned till the end.
Stay tuned. So now we're in our blueberry patch, and everything's looking pretty good. We are getting some fruit, but it's all, you know, they're small plants right now, so nothing big. We replaced all of the soaker hoses that we had with different ones because I had weed whacked a couple spots, and so when you weed whack a soaker hose, it stops being a soaker hose. So
yeah, it just soaks that one spot really well.
Exactly.
Nothing else.
Yeah. So we got all that done, and that's pretty good. And you know, I think we might have done drip tape over here, but we had the soaker hoses, and it works really well. You just connect the hose, you leave it running for a while, and keeps it plenty watered.
And say goodbye to this white picket fence. It's probably the last time you'll see it white.
Because Catherine's going to paint it black all by herself. So now we're over here by our raised bed, and these tomatoes, killing it.
Killing it.
They are doing so well. The fruit is coming along so great. They're so big. There seems to be so little disease or whatever. So again, we subscribe to the Darwin method of planting, where we plant as many plants in a plot as possible, and whichever ones survive.
Survival of the fittest.
Right. But we We only water this area with a sprinkler, and you can see the leaves are doing just fine. Everything's looking so healthy. There's a lot of alpaca manure in here, and I would imagine that that's partially why. This also gets plenty of sun all day long. So this is our railroad tie, one of our railroad tie beds, and this calendula is looking so good. We recently partnered with a store in our area to sell them flower bouquets, and this calendula has just been a lifesaver to have all this blooming constantly because they require a lot of bouquets. But everything's looking really nice. We also have, I think they're Jack B. Little pumpkins growing in here. Those are coming out really well. Hopefully they'll be growing all over this trellis up and through the fall. And then on the far side of the trellis, you can see we have our coral fountain amaranth, which has been a really cool plant to grow. Although Catherine and I did say, like just yesterday, that we love the coral fountain amaranth, but we miss the straight up spiky ones. So I think next year we're going to do a lot more of that. So we're over here by this squash plant here, and you can see it's got a million different flowers, but we have only gotten like one fruit from it. And so one of the reasons we think that is because the pollinators haven't been visiting it as much. There's a squash plant that we have over by our chicken coop that also has nepeta planted by it, and we found like moths, butterflies, bees, everything loves that nepeta, and so we're kind of thinking that maybe they're favoring that squash plant, or at least, you know, they're hanging by the nepeta and then maybe they run into a squash flower or two. But so far we've gotten no fruits over here. So now we're here in our flower market garden. Everything has been working really well over here. We just recently pulled out the poppies that were in the second row and replaced that with some dahlia tubers that we got from Christmas tree shops. They actually had packets of 7 on sale for 50 cents each. So we cleared them out along with seeds. We got like 2 little shopping baskets full of seed packets. So hopefully that'll come up with something. But everything's been looking really good here. I think next year when we do this, we're gonna use that horizontal netting to just keep our flower stems straight, because a lot of the poppies have tipped down, and some of our zinnias have also tipped down. And so when they do that, the whole stem tips over, and then the end of the stem towards the flower kind of peaks up. So you end up, when you put it in a vase, it's like this, which is an interesting looking thing, but I'm sure it's not as strong as if it were all straight standing up. So over here on our patio, it's a little bit messy, but we have some coral fountain amaranth. Our kale is getting eaten by something other than us. Thank goodness. Just kidding. And I think this is borage right here.
Yep.
And then we have these crazy looking tomatoes, which were what, the Castellato Genovese or something?
Could be, or could be mushroom basket.
Mushroom basket, one of those two. So those are coming along. We also have some other tomatoes going in this little thing here. So hopefully we are overrun with tomatoes in the next month. All right, so now we're here in our garden next to our chicken coop. We have a bunch of tomatoes growing here. Coral fountain amaranth. We have some flowering tobacco in the back that we actually saw a hummingbird at yesterday. That was pretty cool. Not a lot of hummingbirds in our area. And we tried over here to grow sweet peas. They did not do all that much. Probably won't be growing them next year. But yeah, everything's looking really good. We made a real conscious decision to prune these tomatoes really well, and I think it's made a big difference. Everything's looking really healthy, good, strong, fruitful, coming along nicely. So now we're here in our farm market garden. Our lettuce is bolting nicely. That's always good, right? We have a bunch of squash plants that are looking leggy and flowering, so I'm not sure we'll get anything from there, but we have tomatoes in the back that are doing nice. They're growing well and getting some fruit. So we also have our feathered frills kale here. So
How is that?
it's good. That is actually pretty good. We should maybe have some of that. So anyway, yeah, market garden. Less markety. Is that a tomato?
Who put that there?
So I'm not sure if maybe we just haven't taken good enough care of this garden.
Not
or
enough light.
Maybe not enough light.
It's
Yeah, so
growing.
maybe we'll just cut down all the trees. Just kidding. We've learned a lot about our property over this past year because we put in so many new gardens, and some things have done really well, some things have not. Even though it's low light over here, the kale has done pretty well. So, you know, maybe we'll use this for more kale next year. We'll see. So if you follow us on Instagram, which you can do at Old Reading Farm, you saw us post a little while ago a big pile of wood and asking you to guess what we were doing. So what we are doing is creating a big, giant garden that's going to be almost 4,500 square feet, maybe even a little bit bigger than that, as my anniversary present, which our anniversary is coming up very soon. So that's exciting. So over here, our buddy at the sawmill has a bunch of top cuts that he can't use, or stuff that has just been sitting out, got a little cupped or warped. So we're going to use that as a really rustic fence going along the outside just to keep the dogs out. We're going to turn it into one big giant market garden. You know, this year was really a proof of concept for us that people in our local area do want to buy flowers from us, and partnering with the local market really was another big proof of concept. We don't do, they asked for 50 arrangements a week, and you know, we're not quite there yet. So we're going to dedicate more of our yard space to growing, which means a lot less mowing, which is good. Because this actually over here was the majority of where I mow now, because everything else has raised beds and gardens and trees. So we're excited. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll be building this up and making it nice. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. We really appreciate it. Leave us a comment, let us know what you think. Give this video a like, and as always, please subscribe. Thanks for stopping by.